Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing a crap ton of monster taming games and games with monster taming elements that are currently on sale on Steam until January 5th. Now, we did do a pretty similar video about this about a month ago for the Black Friday sale. However, I'd argue that this sale is far superior. We've got even more games on sale and even crazier discounts at that, so it's definitely a good time. That said, I'm really happy with the format in which I used for that previous video, where I would essentially give a very brief explanation and showcase the sale discount on the bottom corner of the screen. So we're going to do much of the same this time around. As per the usual, make sure to let me know in the comments if you guys found any interesting sales that you'd like people to know about, whether or not they're on Steam. And with that, let's dive in. Alright, so do note that because there are so many games to get through, we are going to be banging them off very quickly. So for more information on any of these games, I will be linking every single Steam page in the description in the order in which they're displayed here. So I highly urge you guys to follow up and do your own research as well, especially if you think one or more of these games looks cool. Anyways, let's start off with the game that really needs no explanation, that being Digimon Cybersleuth Complete Edition. With these two games, you'll find yourself traveling through the network, taming various Digimon in 3-on-3 turn-based combat. The game has a heavy emphasis on storytelling, so it should be right up the alley of any JRPG fan. This is 70% off. A monster taming game that really made a big splash this year was Monster Hunter Stories 2, a spin-off title of the Monster Hunter franchise that focuses on turn-based combat where the monster rider fights alongside their monster rather than hunting it down. The game's really nice aesthetic, coupled with its fun and intuitive gameplay, make it a solid pick. It's currently 17% off. Now, whenever I talk about Siralim Ultimate or its predecessors, I'm usually listing off the vast array of content available within these games, but I will just say this time. Do you like the idea of endless dungeon crawling with over 1,000 unique monsters, each of whom can be customized with the deep crafting systems and then pitted against enemies in 6-on-6 highly complex combat? If so, you'll love these games. The latest installment is 25% off, whilst Siralim 1, 2, and 3 are all 66, 65, and 65% off respectively. My fellow Nexomon fans come together and rejoice, as Nexomon 1 and 2 are both half off, and do I even need to explain why these games are so much fun? Go collect hundreds of monsters between the games, enjoy their awesome and very fun story, and then let me know what you think. If you can't tell, I highly recommend these titles. Now, many people have for the first time dipped their toes in the SMT franchise, with SMT5 having just come out on Switch. That said, SMT3 is currently on sale, and you can expect much of the same as a predecessor to the new title. Enjoy the morally ambiguous world of post-apocalyptic Tokyo, and as a human-demon hybrid, go fight alongside your custom demon team whilst making use of fusion and all that fun stuff you'd expect in an SMT game. It's currently 40% off. Next, we have a game we haven't talked much about on the channel just yet, that being Planet Centauri, a game seemingly inspired by Terraria and Starbound with a monster taming twist. The game plays, of course, like a Metroidvania and looks pretty damn cool. I'm going to be picking this one up myself. It's 10% off right now. Do you like Final Fantasy? How about monster taming? World of Final Fantasy may just be your calling card. This weird Final Fantasy spin-off will have you stacking mirages against one another in combat, and honestly, it looks pretty funny, but also pretty cool. It's currently 60% off. If you want a more unique monster taming experience that isn't your typical RPG, then might I introduce Patch Quest, a monster riding roguelike bullet hell, where you can lasso enemy monsters and subsequently utilize them for your own purposes in exploring the world of Patch Atlantis. This game features a ton of different mounts and unique abilities for each, so this is another one I'd highly recommend checking out. It's 30% off. Now, tactical RPGs are definitely something I've seen a lot of people asking for within the monster taming scene, so might I introduce to you Beastmancer, a grid-based monster taming and battling game where you must partake in some sort of strange tournament with the promise of riches and glory. It's currently 75% off. Another really fun roguelike title that follows a more traditional monster taming format in the combat aspect is Abomi Nation, a really fun RPG roguelike mix with Nuzlocke elements. Many Pokemon fans that don't have access to randomizer and Nuzlocke mods need to check this game out. I highly recommend it as well. It's 40% off. We have touched on No Kuni in these types of videos before, and once again, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered is currently 75% off, and what the game game is basically a Studio Ghibli aesthetic JRPG with real-time combat, where you can of course yield various monsters and make them fight for you. A friend of mine, Peanut Dream, is actually running a playthrough on her channel, so if you want more info, I'll link her channel below alongside the Steam page, of course. Right now is a great time to dive into Monster Sanctuary, a Metroidvania monster taming RPG fusion with 3-on-3 combat. The game recently had its latest content update and is currently having a full-blown DLC launching in 2022. Did I mention the DLC was free? The game's challenging but fair nature, clean art style, and sharp game design also make it a major recommendation from me. It's currently 66% off. Okay, so maybe you enjoyed SMT5 but already played SMT3 and want something familiar yet also different. Well, for that we got Malice and Greed, an SMT-inspired roguelike. In this game, you can play endlessly with that familiar SMT combat with added malices and perks to mix things up. The game's currently 35% off. Now, if you want something that's sort of a mix of everything with a monster taming twist, you could also check out Re-Legend, a monster taming RPG farming sim type game with monster raising elements as well. The full access launch is supposed to be coming soon, but it has undergone several delays, so just keep that in mind. It's currently 40% off. Entodrive is very cheap. I'm talking like $2. Monster taming RPG from a 2.5D perspective, where you can battle what essentially are computer viruses against each other in this strange world. The game is basically the what-if scenario if an AR game's monsters came to life and started wreaking havoc. It's 25% off. Another wild card type monster taming title, I guess you could call it, is Xander the Monster Morpher, a top-down monster taming shooter with fusion, allowing you to mix perks and create your own custom monsters. The same dev is also working on Mythcaller, a 2.5D platformer, so definitely worth checking out this game if you want to get an idea of how they design their games in preparation for their next project. If you're a fan of more old-school CRPGs, then you may find Geneforge 1 Mutagen to be to your liking. This game features tactical, grid-based combat with monster summoning as its major caveat. This remaster of the original is currently 25% off. Next, we got a really wacky JRPG title in the form of Heartbeat, a very colorful, strange-looking game with an eccentric cast of characters and a lot of cats by the looks of it. You can grab this one for 50% off. Monster Crown is a monster taming title with over 1,200 monsters after fusion combinations are considered, and is definitely a ton of fun if you're looking for something that has deeper mechanics with its highly customizable breeding system, fusion, open world, and overall darker tone. You might want to check this one out. It's currently 20% off. Next, we got Monster Harvest, more of a farming sim with a monster taming aspect, but nevertheless, the game is currently 50% off and features a Stardew Valley inspired farming system coupled with monster battling via its randomly generated dungeons. A really cool retro themed monster taming title that seems to be inspired by both Pokemon and Dragon Warrior monsters is Disc Creatures, this really cute looking JRPG solo dev project. The game features 3-on-3 combat, seemingly reminiscent of the DWM games, and even has a sequel in the works, so I think now's a great time to pick it up. It's 60% off. Next, we've got a pretty interesting deck building roguelike game titled The Corpsemen. The game features harvesting and crafting on top of the aforementioned features, though it does have a mixed score on Steam, so take with that what you will. It is currently 15% off. A very colorful game that launched pretty recently on Steam is Rainbow Billy and the Curse of the Leviathan. The game is a 2.5D platform adventure title with monster taming battles, if you could call them that, because it's more like a showdown, I guess, since the game boasts its non-violent nature. The game is currently 50% off. If you're looking for another game with farming and crafting elements similar to some of the previously discussed, there's also Serin Fate, an adventure RPG where you can utilize magic to both devastate your enemies and, yes, tame monsters. It is currently 25% off. Another game I actually really want to check out myself is Soul of Giga, a 3-on-3 monster taming RPG where you're tasked with cleansing the land and restoring your clan, utilizing monsters of various elements. Sounds kind of like the monster taming version of Sasuke Uchiha, so I'm kind of intrigued here. It's 50% off. Okay, so now before we wrap things up, I do have a few games that may not be considered monster taming by strict definitions, but do have monster taming elements, and I thought were worth a mention. Firstly, we have Ninth Dawn 3, a brutal 2.5D open world adventure title where you can, of course, tame various monsters and utilize them in these massive group confrontations. It's currently 35% off. We also have Ark Survival Evolved, the game that probably needs no explanation, but alas is a massive sandbox title where you can, of course, tame dinosaurs and other creatures and utilize them for combat, as well as some other menial tasks. This is 67% off. And finally, we have Farcry Primal, an open world first-person adventure title, I guess. It's not really a shooter since there's no guns, but you know what I mean. It takes place 10,000 years in the past. In this game, you can actually tame and ride various monsters and even command them in combat. So again, whilst not strictly a monster taming game by any means, some of the monster taming spirit is there, if you will. It's currently 80% off. Whew, there you go, guys. That was a ton of games to try to condense down into essentially what is point form. I really do hope that this will act as a helpful tool to guide you in the right direction. Because of the wide array of titles discussed in this video, I did not have time to make more lengthy descriptions. I instead had to cut them kind of short, but if you do like videos that break down multiple games at once, I'll leave a link in the description to a playlist that has quite a few of those types of videos. We have videos discussing upcoming monster tamers that are for Switch, PS4, PS Vita, upcoming monster taming roguelikes, etc. And each game is extrapolated on much further than in this video. That said, if you do want to stay up to date on all things monster taming, definitely hit that subscribe button because I put out new monster taming videos every single day. You can also check out my Twitter and Discord, which will be linked below. And special thanks to our patrons, especially Jim Hamilton and StealCase, our mythical backers. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.